right, let's do it. Welcome back. It's the Avid Investor Podcast with me, your host, Josh Adamek. And today I'm going to talk about creating financial freedom through real estate and real estate investing. Wanted to dive into this. It just I saw something that grabbed my attention this morning. When I was scrolling through social media, and I wanted to talk about financial freedom, what that means, how you create financial freedom, and how to do that effectively through real estate investing. So I also wanted to debunk a couple of myths when it comes to real estate investing and creating financial freedom. So let's get right to it. Basically, what I saw this morning, a post, somebody had out there. It said something along the lines of, you can become financially free with flipping houses. And in all reality, that probably can't be the furthest thing from the truth. Well, flipping houses, again, my opinion, but my opinion comes with, nearly almost 20 years experience in the business. So, when it comes to flipping houses and speculative type investments, flipping houses, infill new construction, spec builds, things like that. Those are great money makers. You can make a significant amount of money through those type of investments. However, that is merely one tool in the tool belt when it comes to creating true wealth and creating financial freedom through real estate investing. So what I mean by that is I believe I just read the highlights, saw the highlights, but you see this stuff out there a lot where, you can become financially free doing this, you can become financially free doing that. But when it comes to, flipping houses is great. And what I mean by that, if you don't already know, it's when you buy a crappy house, you spend a bunch of money and a bunch of time fixing it up, bringing it up, renovating the house, remodeling the home, and then, selling the home retail to an end buyer. That's, flipping houses, also known as, renovating houses, remodeling, whatever. But that is taking a crappy house, fixing it up, and selling it to a retail buyer for more than you paid for it. Hopefully that's the plan. So flipping houses is great. There's a lot of money to be made. I do, actively, not as much as I used to, but, here and there we'll have a property that comes down the pipeline that it makes sense to, remodel it and do a full remodel and sell it to an end buyer. That's not my go-to strategy. That's not what I do consistently on a regular basis, but I was very active as a quote unquote flipper several years ago. So when it comes to flipping houses, again, it's great. I mean, it can be a good business model. There's some upsides with flipping houses, but there's also some potential downsides. There's some potential pitfalls that can happen more oftentimes than you would think. So first off, when it comes to flipping houses, if you're working a job or whatever, you're working full time, you have a business, whatever, and you say, I'm going to get into real estate. I see all these TV shows, everybody's, it looks so easy. All you got to do is buy a house. You got to hire a contractor. Then they fix it up, and then you sell it. You make a bunch of money. You make 20, 30, 50, $100,000, whatever that number is. The highlight reel looks great, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of work involved to get to that end payday. One, you got to find the deal. You got to find the opportunity. When you find that opportunity, you have to be aware of, you have to be confident in the end value of that home. And what I mean by that is, homes, especially in Pittsburgh, values aren't really, necessarily neighborhood specific. Some neighborhoods are street by street, and you got to know those values. You got to know those values getting in. You got to understand construction. You have to manage the project, see the project through. You got to finance the purchase. you got to cover those costs throughout the course of the project with no revenue coming in, with no income from that particular project. So while there's big paydays, there can be potential big paydays on flipping houses. You're really getting yourself another job when you get to when you start flipping houses. So if you're working a full-time job and you say I'm gonna go flip houses, one, you're signing up for another job. And then two, there's a financial commitment that comes along with that, assuming that you're going to borrow money. If you're going to do like a hard money loan or a private loan or something like that, chances are pretty good. You're going to have, if you're new to the business, you're probably going to take some short-term high interest financing to do that project. So you got to cover debt service, you got taxes and insurance that you have to pay. You might have to float some contractor draws and things like that throughout the course of the project. But at the end of the road, there's a potential big payday. And again, there's nothing wrong with flipping houses, but when it comes to financial freedom, which is what I'm talking about today, flipping houses is merely one tool in the tool belt when it comes to creating true wealth and creating financial freedom. And just flipping houses is not going to get you financially free. I promise you that, because here's what happens, and I'm telling you from experience. You start in the business, you flip one house, you make some money, you take on 2 projects. You make some money, you take on 3 projects. You make some money, you take on more projects, and you're creating revenue, but along with that revenue, you're taking on more debt, assuming you're borrowing the money. There are different ways to go about it through through partnerships and things like that. But assuming you're borrowing money for your projects, or even reinvesting your profits into new projects, there's still costs associated with that. You're not creating anything for the long term. You're signing yourself up for more work, another job, and you're always looking at down the line. Oh, when I sell this group of homes, when I sell this batch of homes, when I sell these next 5 homes, the paydays are there, the projections are there. But then throughout the course of the projects, things come up when you're flipping houses. If you get to the point where you got 5 active projects going on, or 10 active projects going on, and you borrowed a bunch of money to do all those projects, one, you gotta cover that debt service, the taxes and insurance, your floating contractor draws, things like that, while you're waiting for your draws to come in from your investment partners or your lenders. So there's a substantial amount of cost involved throughout the course of the project, and you're looking at the payday at the end of the road, at the end of the rainbow there. So when it comes to flipping houses, like I said, there's a lot of variables throughout the course of the project, and you have to be prepared to weather the storm. You may get to the point where you're very active, you're doing a lot of projects, and then you misjudge an ARV, an after repaired value, and then that home one either sits out there on the market for a longer period of time than expected, or you sell it at a discount versus your projection. So you may have worked for 3, 6, 9 months, and then sold that home at a break even, or possibly a loss, or things like that. So and then when it comes to the construction side of the business, there's variables. I mean, you're getting into, remodeling homes. There can be unforeseens, things that you didn't catch on your initial walkthrough, things that you didn't catch on your initial projections. You get into a home, and you start, you start your demo, and you find some termite damage, or, you go to replace the roof, and you were thinking you're going to rip the shingles and replace the shingles, and you find a bunch of rotten wood, or, you uncover a foundation issue, or things like that. I mean, those are things that happen when you're flipping houses, and you just need to be prepared, have a plan to cover that and to pay for that. But point being is yes, there's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of potential money to be made in flipping houses, but the message that I'm trying to get across is flipping houses isn't going to get you financial freedom. I promise you that. No matter how much you grow your business, no matter how much you scale your business, no matter how many systems you put in place, no matter how many team members you put in place, it's not going to get you financial freedom. And I say that for several reasons. One, you're always going to have to be sourcing new projects, new properties. Two, you're gonna have to cover that overhead involved with those projects. And then three, your payday is always at the end of the road. When you're doing a flip, you're the last one to get paid. Up front, the seller gets paid. Throughout the course of the projects, the lenders get paid, investors get paid, the contractors get paid, all the subcontractors, the folks that are going to clean the home, stage the home, everybody gets paid throughout the course of the project, but you as the investor gets paid at the end, when it sells, after everyone else is paid. So, that is not, that is not that's one tool in the tool belt to create financial freedom. But here's what I mean by that. When you want to create financial freedom, you want to talk about financial freedom. And I've said this many, many times before. The way to true financial freedom is increasing assets and reducing liabilities. So what that means is increasing assets, buying, if it's in real estate, you want to invest in long-term cash flow properties. You want to create passive income. Passive income is what gets you to financial freedom. When you're flipping houses, that's active income. You got to work for that. Your team has to work for that. Somebody has to work for that. Passive income is created through cash flow, with cash flowing properties that are long-term investments. So when I say flipping houses is one tool in the tool belt to financial freedom, it's a good business model. It can be a good business model, subject to market conditions, subject to a lot of things, but there's money to be made in flipping houses. But the way you get financially free through flipping houses is taking those profits, that money that you're making, and not buying dumb shit. Take that money and invest it in something for the long term. So let's say, for example, you buy a house. Let's just say it's a Lawrenceville home, home in Lawrenceville where it's a shell, it's gutted, you got to gut it, whatever, half burned out. I don't know. I've done a bunch of those. You spend 6 months, forget about 6 months. You spend 9 months to a year, remodeling that house. It's a full gut remodel. You're going to change the floor plan. You're going to add a rooftop deck. You're going to do all kind of, fancy high-end finishes, imported cabinets, nice countertops, nice flooring, everything. You're going to put your heart and soul into this project. So, let's just say you bought the house for $150,000. You spent, another $150,000 on the remodel. You're all in at $300,000. You got your holding costs, your money, your taxes, your insurance, your commissions to close, and, all that stuff. So let's just say 50,000 for all that, for conversation's sake. So you bought it for 150. You spent 150 on the remodel. You spent 50,000 on your other costs. You're all in at 350. Let's say you sell that home for $450,000. So you made about $100,000. About $100,000. What are you going to do with that $100,000? If you want to create financial freedom, you take that $100,000 and invest it in a long-term cash flowing asset. Now that's not as cool. That's not as sexy as taking a crappy house and fixing it all up and, seeing the before and after pictures, on Instagram or whatever. It's not, it may not be as fulfilling, for you, but in reality, what you're after is financial freedom, and financial freedom is created through passive income, through long-term investments. So take those profits from your flips and increase assets, which, when I say assets, I'm talking about long-term investments, cash flow properties, passive income, positive cash flow, passive income. For us, our go-to is regular houses, regular neighborhoods. We buy grandma's house. So take your profits from your flips, reinvest those profits. And when I say don't buy dumb shit, don't go out and buy a Lamborghini, don't go out and buy, a boat, vacation home, whatever. Are those things nice? Yes. But at the end of the day, taking those profits and buying dumb shit isn't going to get you financially free. Taking those profits and reinvesting them for the long term, to create passive income, to increase assets, is how you create financial freedom. And the other thing to look at with those profits is when I say increase assets and reduce liabilities, you can use those profits to buy down your debt. If you've already, if whatever that means to you, whether it's paying off student loans, whether it's paying off your car, paying off your home, your primary residence, maybe you already have a cash flow investment, a long-term investment, pay that property off. Look at the return. Look at the return on investment. Does it make more sense to go out and buy something new, or does it make more sense to reduce the liability on an existing asset, an existing investment, or something that you already own personally? So when it comes to financial freedom, look at cash flow, look at long-term cash flow, long-term investments. I can't stress that enough. And how you increase assets and reduce liabilities is, one, buy more assets, invest in more assets for the long term, or you reduce liabilities, pay off your current stuff. Look at the return on investment, calculate the return on investment on buying down your debt. And if you actually run a calculator, look at a spreadsheet, look at a formula, what your ROI is on buying down your debt, you may be surprised, and you could get a pretty good return. What it means by that is, what I mean by buying down your debt is, let's say, for example, you have you bought a car, you paid $50,000 for the car. And you've been paying on it for a year or two, whatever. Now you owe $35,000 or $30,000. Let's say it's $30,000. Well, let's just say, for example, that's a $500 a month payment on that car. You owe $30,000. If you take $30,000 and pay off that car, you're eliminating a $500 per month payment from your budget. That $500 a month payment is $6,000 a year. So when you calculate, you're now saving $6,000 a year versus a $30,000 balance. What's that return on investment? Think about that and look at that, both from a business and personal standpoint. Increase assets, reduce liabilities. That's how you create financial freedom. Again, flipping houses is great. You can make a lot of money in flipping homes. You can have some potential big paydays. You can also have some potential pitfalls when it comes to flipping homes. But again, that just needs to be one tool in your tool belt when it comes to creating true wealth and creating financial freedom. True wealth is created through, again, I can't say this enough, increasing assets and reducing liabilities. If you get into the business, I've said this many, many times before in other recordings. If you get into a business, you change careers, you start a new job, and you're making more money than you were the previous year, the previous quarter, whatever. Let's say you go from making $50,000 a year to $150,000 a year, or $150,000 a year to $500,000 a year, whatever that number is. If you're increasing your income but you're also increasing your expenses along with that, you're still not winning. I mean, yeah, you've got some nice stuff. You've got some cool stuff. You might drive a nicer car. You might live in a bigger house. Might go on, nicer vacations. And there's nothing wrong with treating yourself and having nice things. But if your goal is financial freedom comes from increasing assets and reducing liabilities. The greater margin you can get through increasing assets and reducing liabilities, the quicker you'll get to financial freedom. And when it comes to financial freedom, making $500,000 a year doesn't make you financially free. Making $1 million a year doesn't make you financially free. If, when you're increasing that income, you're also increasing your liabilities that go along with that. I know a lot of people personally. I know several people personally that are high earners, making over $500,000 a year, making over $1 million a year. That have just as many expenses to go along with their income, and they are not financially free. And many of those folks are not happy either. On the flip side, I know I have some very good friends that make $150,000 a year, $250,000 a year, that have little to no expenses, and they are financially free. I know a couple of people that live, very well off of $50,000-$60,000 a year. Why? It's because they have no debt, they have no liabilities. Just because you make more money, just because you're upping your income, just because you start supplementing your income through flipping houses, or through other investments or other business models, that's not going to make you financially free if you aren't also aware of the expenses and the liabilities and reducing the liabilities. So again, there's nothing wrong with buying nice stuff. There's nothing wrong. I'm not saying you gotta be the guy that drives the 30-year-old pickup and lives in a crappy house to be financially free. I'm just saying, be aware of where your expenses are, where your passive income is, where your income is, and if your goal is true financial freedom, the bigger the gap you can create between the two, regardless of the income, regardless of the dollar amount that you make, the bigger gap you create between your assets and your liabilities is how you create financial freedom and how you become truly financially free. So that's it. That's my message for today. I just felt, I saw it this morning. I was scrolling through and I saw, another post on financial freedom and how to become financially free, and I felt the need to give my 2 cents, my thoughts and opinions on financial freedom that comes from nearly 20 years in the business, in real estate, and in investing in real estate, and wanted to give you some tips and some strategies on how you can go about becoming financially free through actively investing in real estate. So that's it. I appreciate you guys. I thank you so much for tuning in and listening. And if all I ask for in return is, if you find value in this message, send it to somebody that can benefit from this message, tag somebody in the post, and anything you guys want me to cover, I'm here for you. So send me a message, reach out, DM, whatever, let me know, what topics you want me to dive into in greater detail, and I'm happy to give you my thoughts and opinions. So thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day.